Hello everyone, welcome to our next lecture. And in this lecture, we'll be actually controlling the onboard LED of the Arduino Uno using Bluetooth. So in our previous lecture, we just learned how to create a mobile application using our MIT App Inventor. And what we are going to do in this lecture is that we are going to create a mobile application which has Bluetooth functionality so that whenever we press on and off on our mobile phone, we are able to control the onboard LED of the Arduino Uno through Bluetooth. So in order to achieve this, we will be requiring a Bluetooth module so that the connection between the Arduino Uno and the mobile application can be established. So in order to do this, we will be using the HC05 Bluetooth module. So basically this module enables Bluetooth communication between the module and the smartphone, and then it can serially communicate this data with the Arduino. So when we were studying about serial communication, I gave you this very example and told you how actually the Bluetooth communication takes place. And this is what is happening over here. So I'll just repeat what I said then. What exactly happens is that whenever we send a signal from our smartphone, first the smartphone gets connected with the HC05 module. Once the data is sent over to the HC05 module through Bluetooth, then the HC05 module serially communicates this very data to the Arduino Uno, and thus we can program the Arduino Uno to perform a set of functions every time it receives a particular kind of data. So what we are going to be doing here with the application. So first of all, what our application needs to do. Our application should have the ability to connect to the HC05, which is a Bluetooth client. So we want that our application has the ability to connect via Bluetooth, and after it has successfully established the connect, we need to have two buttons that are on and off, so that every time on is pressed, the Arduino Uno's onboard LED turns on, and every time off is pressed, the onboard LED on the Arduino Uno turns off. So the way we are going to achieve this is that, let's say that every time on is pressed, a particular character, let's say A, gets sent to the HC05 module. Now this module serially communicates this to the Arduino Uno. So at the end of the day, whenever we press the on button, the character A gets received by the Arduino Uno, and we can program that, okay, if A has been received, we want to turn on our onboard LED. And similarly, every time we send B through the off button, which means that every time we press the off button, we are sending the character B to the Arduino Uno, and once received, we can program it to turn off the onboard LED every time it receives B. So I think you have a fair idea about what we are trying to do here. So let's actually go on and create the app that is required for this system. So here I am right now in MIT App Inventor, and I'll be starting a new project. So the project name, let's keep it as Bluetooth _app. So now that I've successfully created this project, I'll be moving on. And now we are in our interface. So first of all, we need three types of things. We need two buttons and we need a list picker. So what is this list picker? Basically, we need this list picker so that every time we press this, a list comes with all the Bluetooth addresses that are available in our vicinity, so that we can connect to the HC05 and accordingly communicate. So I'll be going to the user interface, and as you can see here, this is the list picker. So I'll be just dragging this list picker in our application interface, and next what I need is Bluetooth connectivity. So I will be going to connectivity, and here you can see Bluetooth client and Bluetooth server. So I will be choosing the Bluetooth client. So now that I've chosen the Bluetooth client, this is a non-visible component. So which means that it is not visible on the screen as a button or as a label or a text box. It is non-visible. So now that I have added Bluetooth client, I will also be needing two buttons, text for button 1, text for button 2. So these two buttons will be on and off. So let me just rename them very quickly. So I'll rename the first button as on, and I'll be renaming the second button as off. Now let's actually, before editing the whole GUI and making it organized, let's first go to the blocks and really understand the code and connect the blocks so that we have at least our backend functioning. So here we are in blocks. So first of all, let's break down our problem once again. We want a way to basically establish connectivity between our mobile phone and our HC05 Bluetooth module. So let's just treat the HC05 as a Bluetooth client that has an address. So what we want is for the list picker to first of all show all the Bluetooth clients that are available. So in order to do that, we will say that okay, when list picker before clicking, which means that okay, I have just opened the list picker, I have not clicked any sort of address that has popped up there. So I'm just just opening the list picker and I'll be seeing a set of Bluetooth clients, right? So in order to do that, I want to see that set of addresses. How do I do that? So what I want to do here is that before picking, I want to set all the data, all the options that are available in the list picker to the Bluetooth addresses, right? That's what I want to do. So I'll be going on to set list picker elements. So what does this mean? This means that all the options that will be available in the list picker are basically referred to as the elements over here. So you want that the options that are in the list picker should be the Bluetooth addresses. So we're going to set the list picker's elements to our Bluetooth addresses and names, which means all the addresses and the names of the Bluetooth devices. So there is HC05, there will also be other devices that are like our smartphones. So let's say there's a Redmi phone over there, so it will say Redmi Note 5. So that is the address and the name of the Bluetooth client. So once we have opened our list picker, this will be shown to us. All the addresses and names will now be shown to us. So now after picking, which means that okay, I have, let's say, selected a Bluetooth address and I want to connect to it. So we are going to create that block. So in order to do that, we'll say okay, we have picked from our list picker. We have pressed a Bluetooth address and we want to connect to it. We want to do a certain function that will connect our Bluetooth module, that is the HC05, after I've picked it, to our mobile phone, right? So after picking, I want that whatever the selection that I've made, so there will be option of set list picker selection, which means that okay, whatever selection I have made, I have pressed whichever Bluetooth address and name I want to call that Bluetooth address. So there is the option of calling that Bluetooth client. We are going to connect to that address, right? So I'm going to call that address and I'm going to say, hey, I want to establish connectivity with you. So that is what I'm going to do. I am going to call that Bluetooth client and connect to the address which I have selected, which is basically what? Our address and name, right? So in that case, I'll be going to the Bluetooth client and actually find the addresses and names. That is what I'm going to do. So I'll just re-explain this very block to you. So after making a selection, after pressing say a Bluetooth address, I want that I set the selection and call the Bluetooth client to connect to that very address that I have selected. So that is what I'm doing through this block. I'm setting the list picker selection and I'm calling the Bluetooth client to connect to the very address that I've selected. That is what is exactly happening over here. So I would say now that we can establish connectivity with our HC05 module pretty easily, because after we open our list of the available Bluetooth addresses and names that we're going to get, we are going to find, okay, this is the HC05, we will press that option, and then next our selection will basically be connected with our smartphone through this very block, where after selection we are calling the Bluetooth client to connect to the address which we have selected, right? So with this out of the way, let's actually move on to the next portion, where we want that every time the button on is pressed, we are sending the character A to our HC05 module. So now let's move on to our next element, which is the button. And first let's program the on button. So we talked about how whenever on is pressed, we want to send A to our Bluetooth client, through our Bluetooth client to the Arduino Uno. So that's what I'll be doing here. So when on is clicked, I want to send the text A. So I'm going to call the Bluetooth client. I'm going to send the text A. So over here, I'll be actually attaching the A. So I'll be just going to text and be having a small empty block. And over here, I'll just write A. So I'm giving capital A over here. And to just explain what is happening here, whenever the button on will be clicked, through the Bluetooth functionality that we have established, we're going to call our Bluetooth client and we're going to send the text A. So A is the character over here. And the reason I have used this very red box is that because now the A that is sent here is a character. And that is what we will be programming in the Arduino Uno. So similarly for off, what we are going to do is whenever off is clicked, we are going to call the Bluetooth client, call it and send the text, let's say B. That is what I'm going to do here as well. Just the text. So with this out of the way, our application is pretty much ready. So what we are doing is we have a list picker from where we are selecting our HC05 module. Once we have done that, we are programming two buttons on and off, so that whenever on is pressed, we send the text A. Whenever off is pressed, we send the text B. Let's actually go to the designer and make our app look much better. So I'll be just increasing the font size first of all to 25 for the list picker, and let the width be whatever the parent size is. And I will also be giving some text here which says list of available devices. So what are the available devices where I can connect, right? And for the text of this very button, we can simply give it on, and for this button we can make it off, our second button. So looking at my buttons, they don't really seem that readable and they look rather small, so I'll just increase the font size to 40 from 20, and for this button as well. And now I'll be having some horizontal arrangement so that I can place them side to side. So on here and off here. I will also be making the width as fill parent. I'm so sorry, we'll keep it as 50% actually. And for the on button, we'll do the same. So we'll keep the width as 50%, and this is what it'll look like. So once we have a list of Bluetooth devices, the list of available devices, we'll connect to it, and then we can use these very buttons to turn the LED on and off. So our app is pretty much done and it looks good and the blocks are making perfect sense. So let's actually go to the Arduino Uno and write the code down. But before doing that, how does the HC05 module work? What are the various pins on it? How to power it? What is it all about? Let's talk about that before actually entering the Arduino Uno workspace.